girl named Gulgul. So Gulgul, as a child, was very bubbly, curious, and inquisitive. She'd ask the most random questions which did not make sense to adults, but to her, they were very profound. But life got busier, exams took over, classwork, homework, school happened. And then, eventually, her love for Kathak, karate, learning an electric guitar, all faded away slowly. But then, you know what's the most surprising part? She didn't even question why she was letting them go, and then she simply accepted the fact that, okay, you know what, life has gotten too busier, and let me just move on with whatever's going on. But she also fell into a routine of going to school from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., coming back, studying, playing, eating, playing again, studying some more, sleeping. That's it. But one thing that Gulgul never left was the ability to be curious about her grit and her ability to do something more. And that's the very reason, that very jigyasa is what has caused her to stand here before you all, giving a first TED Talk. When I was in 4th grade, so I found solace in writing. I felt like the blank pages did not judge me, and I can write anything about it, and anything that intrigued me. Whether it was writing simply about my life-size teddy bear named Ted, or on much heavier topics about self-love or racism. Back in 2021, I had written a fair number of poems, and that's when my parents suggested that, you know what, we can combine it into a form of a book. Okay, I was hesitant. Letting out my voice to the world, exposing my feelings on how I felt about certain things, whether it was about Harry Potter or it was about the underwater life, it was not easy. But then I realized and I questioned myself that what was I so afraid for? What was holding me back? And then I came to the answer that the fear of being judged is not a good enough reason to hide my voice. So that was my very first leap in the power of questioning. I published my first book, Dreams and Desires, at 16, and it's available on Amazon. Well, then after, when school was nearing towards the end, I was applying to universities, mainly abroad. I poured my heart into writing my college essays, I prepared for my test, and I was very passionate. But then, life, as it does, it threw me a curveball. I couldn't go to my dream school in the USA. I was devastated, I was disappointed, I was shattered. To the extent that I started questioning my worth, my abilities, and everything. Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe my test scores are not good enough. Maybe I'm not meant for those big dreams after all. 3 years back today, when I look back at it, I realized that the problem was not the rejection, but it was the way I questioned it. The questioning had started, but it was toxic. It wasn't positive. It wasn't growth-oriented. So eventually, I realized that ultimately what I wanted to major was in economics. And then I applied to universities in India, and I got into the prestigious Symbiosis International University in Pune, where I'm a senior right now. Well, thank you. Well, in college, in one of my econometrics lectures recently, we were being taught about a certain way to model data and forecast results. So it was a very detailed, very multi-step process. But in the middle of the lecture, our professor, he stopped us, and he's like, wait, why is none of you questioning that why we are even doing this at the first place? Why isn't any one of you curious that how this certain XYZ method is going to help you in the future in your career? And that question, trust me, hit me like a ton of bricks in the class. I was zoned out. And then I started realizing that, was I really just accepting information without digging deeper? Without questioning its purpose. And that was another jigyasa moment for me. And I realized that you need to question not just the world, but also the knowledge which is being handed out to you. Now, college life is an interesting dichotomy. One day you are getting stellar grades, you're acing your assignments, you have enough attendance, and most importantly, you're getting enough sleep. But most of the times, most of the days, it's overwhelming. Nothing's under your control, everything's a mess, including your sleep schedule. And to give you a spoiler, most of the times it's not gonna go the way you want it. I've had this habit since grade 9, where I used to make a to-do list for every day and plan my day down to the minute. And it continued till college until very recently, I just decided I'm gonna not do this anymore. So, if I would get anxious, if I couldn't stick to my schedule, if I wasn't in the library at 2:30 p.m. right after lunch to finish a project I was working on, I'll freak out, I'll get cranky, And then I realized that this very controlled and stringent way of living was, in fact, turning me counterproductive. And I had to question myself again, that was this very military-like to-do list helping me grow or holding me back? It's interesting that when you start questioning, it's not just about you seeking answers, but also about shaping who you become. There's another example. Back in June 2023, a little more than a year back, I had applied to a position in my college's consulting club, which is called 180 Degrees Consulting at Symbiosis School of Economics. I really wanted that position, I was like, I really need to get it. It's gonna look very good on my CV, but I got rejected. And the old Ananya would have been devastated. She would have again questioned her future, her worth, her skills, her abilities. But this time, I kind of did it differently. So I took a day off to process the rejection. Following that, starting July 2024, when I got back to college for a fresh semester, I started reading about consulting, and I'm still learning about consulting till date. And I have absolutely the time of my life when I work on social impact projects as a part of that club. I absorbed as much as I could. I read upon all the major firms, and I tried learning as much as I could. The applications for the club, they opened again in September. And guess what? I got in as a junior consultant. Well, thank you. To reiterate, questioning myself did not really bring me to the answer, okay, this is what consulting is, what are the types, these what industries it serves in. It also shaped me who I became. Because exactly 1 year later today, October 2024, I am the vice president of the same club in my college. If I hadn't questioned that rejection positively, instead of going in a toxic manner, I wouldn't have discovered my love for consulting, my passion for social impact projects, and my will to do entrepreneurship in the future. It's not easy to turn your toxic questioning something that you might have imbibed over the years. But remember that toxic questioning, it hinders your growth. But if you turn that into positive questioning, if you, instead of dwelling on it, I'm bad, I'm not able to do this, I'm not worthy of anything, if you transform those questions into, okay, how can I improve? How can I be better at it? How can I master the skill? And how can I learn from people, my peers, my juniors, my seniors, anyone? Life will transform in the best way possible. So, Gulgul never disappeared. She evolved at the end of the day. You see, at the end of the day, it's just you for yourself. And you're the only one who can turn your toxic questioning into a tool for self-improvement. And this does not translate into, ignoring reality and becoming delusional. You should be critical of yourself, but not destructive. Thank you very much.